Okay, what I've done over here is I've gotten enough pieces to, if I measure it in its rough state, I'm 19.5 inches wide. I need 17. I figure maybe by the time I cut this bad part here off, and maybe this bad part right through here, and a little bit of this, maybe I'll be down to 17. I really only need 16.25, but let's shoot for 17. And then if I end up taking too much off, fine. But I don't cut a big piece of wood thinking I need 15 pieces to make the sides. All you need is enough to make the sides of the box. You don't need a whole stack of wood cut 23 inches long. So this piece has been cut. Look at this piece. I think I'll just cut this one like this. Don't lay this out, put it in the garbage. Okay, now we go to the joiner and we joint the edge of every one of these pieces. Remember, you never glue pieces edge to edge without having jointed or cut the edges on the table saw. This edge may look like it is straight. I mean, it's a beautiful edge, but when I put it down on the wood, I can see that it's not. So always joint the edges. Always, 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 always. You notice my hand went across, but my hand was on top of the fence, so it can't drop down into the blade. If this piece had been any skinnier, I'd had to use a push stick. Okay, now this edge is pretty iffy. Now I've got this defect right here. Now I've jointed that edge straight, and rather than sit there and play on the joiner till Bear Lake has cubs, I'm just going to go to the table saw and remove maybe a ½ inch off of here. Then I can use the rest of this wood. But I want to get rid of this. I think this will mess me up. Now the width that I rip these strips to doesn't matter. I get that question all the time, how wide are the strips? It does not matter. The more strips, anywhere from 2 to 3 inches is good. For this box, I really think it looks better if you get them down to like 1.5 to 2 inches. I think they look better because you can mix them up better and it has a better look to it. So don't use big wide pieces, because then the chances of it warping and whatnot and moving and just the look isn't that good. You want to randomize the look. And so rip them into strips, but rip them into random strips. You know, don't make them all the same. Now here I'm going to cut this about 4.5 because I figure this edge here isn't, so I'm going to set the saw at 4.5 and cut this part off because this is pretty much unusable. It's too thin. It's not going to work on my box. So, and if I go over here, 4.5, maybe I'll go 4.25 because I want to make sure I have enough thickness here that when I glue them together and surface it down, I have a finished size of 3/4 of an inch. thing I need to point out, very important, when I use the push stick on this, my push stick isn't against the fence. It's 1/3 the distance from the blade to the fence. So I'm coming over here to put my push stick. Now if I stop the saw in the middle of the cut, all I do is back it out, turn on the saw again. Put the push stick on. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead. This is my chance to get rid of this defect. And I want to cut it into skinnier strips. So if I've got 3 3/4, I'm going to split that. If I cut those into 1 7/8 inch strips, that'll be perfect. Remember, don't adjust the saw while the blade is moving. Okay, 1 7/8. You notice I'm pushing it clear of the blade. The scrap, after the blade stops, get the scrap out of there. Then this one, I just keep ripping until I have them all done. And this one right here, I'll probably go same. Okay, on this last piece, I want to measure it right there. It says I get 1 1/4 inches of clear wood out of that. So I'm going to set the saw at 1 1/4. Okay. Gather up all my pieces and see what I've got. Okay, so out of that 19-inch piece, by the time I cut out all the miscellaneous stuff I don't need, I'm only 14 1/4. So I need to get about another 2 1/2 inches of wood. So I'm going to go over and find a narrow piece that I can make good use of and get another 2 1/2 inches of wood. And now, when you get the wood for this, if you're not sure which is the wormy maple, because they really vary from piece to piece, please ask me what the wood is, because it looks so funny if you mix in some alder or oak or cherry or something like that in the middle of this safe. It just doesn't fit. You want this thing to be a nice box, uniform type of wood all the way through it. Now this piece I picked out here, I can get 3 inches out of that. That'll give me plenty. Okay, now I grab this, put put them all together, and I'm sitting here about 17, which is where I need to be. Now we just glue it up just like before. Okay, once again, check your clamps. Make sure these ends are all the way out. Lay out your wood. Check it, make sure there's no notch cracks. And check to make sure that there's not glue buildup on here. Sometimes that can really mess up how flat your material is. So if you have that problem, just by the nature of the clamping things, glue deposits on them. I'm going to move these off of here real quick. Clean up this clamp just a little bit. It just gives me a better glue job. The people who skip that step, you can always tell because the pieces are never flat like they should be. Okay, now I'm going to lay them on here. And look at it and say, well, these two pieces are similar. Just kind of shake it up a little bit. Mix them up so line them up, double check the width, then just go ahead and roll them up on this edge, just like before. Again, about an 1/8 inch bead of glue. And again, remember, this glue is like grease. It wants to slip and slide. So let's make sure we put on another clamp over the top. And then just, while you're holding it down, just kind of work your way back and forth to clamp it up. Watch for pieces of wood that are going to slide around on you. You always use 3 sets of clamps. You notice the glue, fairly uniform bead all the way down, which is exactly what you're after. Okay, the numbers we're after. We wanted to go 0.9286. We want to do the this one that has the safe. So we're going to take those up to 0.92. And if you're not right on, you're fine. For this matter, when you get towards the end, it's more critical that you be exact. But right now, to be dead on, it's no big deal. You're going to send it through. Remember, you have to rotate it each time you send it through. You send it through once, turn it over, raise it, send it through again, turn it over, raise it, send it through again. That's very important that you have both sides surfaced to the finished side. Now if in the process of planing this you get a mark on here that isn't going away and you're almost to where you should be, if one side is good, even though that may be the next one to be turned over, concentrate on the defect. You want to get rid of that. Okay, now what I've done is I've surfaced that down. I've left it just a little bit proud of 3/4 of an inch. Now I'm going to go over to the sander and sand one side of it right now. All the numbers. Number 1, open the air. Number 2, turn on the power. Number 3, press start. Number 3, number 4, you want to lower the bed. Number 5, place material flat on the black knob. Number 6, raise the bed until it stops. Number 7, pencil your material. So what we're going to do is, all we're doing is putting a coat of lacquer on the inside of the box, because when you glue it together, it's hard to get that glue off of there. So I'm just penciling the inside of the box, and I'm going to sand until that pencil mark's gone. The outside of the box we'll sand later after we put it together. So now you hit press start, number 8. 9, start. And you save the material. Okay, you start here. I'm not going to erase it. I'm going to take it another time. Shut it off. Put that button. Good. My pencil mark is gone. Now I'm just going to put one coat of finish on the one side. This is going to be the inside of my box. After this side that you sprayed has dried, come back to the joiner, give yourself a working edge. Always get a working edge. Now we go over to the table saw and we are going to cut 8 inches. We're going to rip this piece into 2 8-inch wide strips. With that working edge against the fence, set the saw for 8 inches. Okay, now we're going to adjust the fence to make the cut. We're cutting a 12-inch piece and a 10-inch piece. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to adjust the fence for 12 inches. Type in 12, hit start. After the fence has moved, you put the guard, the sliding sled back on the saw. Now, if you look at the end is not straight because that's it. When they glued it up, the ends didn't line up perfect. That's just normal. So I'm going to square off that end. up against the fence. No gaps. Make the cut. Set that aside. That one's done. But he still has to make another cut on it. Well, not yet. And take the other side, square off the end. Up against the fence. Okay, now let the blade stop. Move this thing out of the way. Adjust the saw for 10. Put this back in place. Slide this up against the fence. Make sure there's no sawdust that's going to hold you out. Hold it like so. This is done. Go over here. That already cut edge against the fence again. Make the cut.